Hey guys, tonight we journey back to a time of humid rice paddies, mango-scented breezes, and decisions so questionable, they somehow made perfect sense to everyone involved. We're dropping into a Mauryan-era village somewhere along the lush Gangetic plains, where spiritual fervor, superstition, and bureaucratic confusion mix together like overcooked lentils. You'll walk barefoot through the mud, swat mosquitoes with a palm leaf, and witness firsthand how one deeply sacred, and slightly clueless, cow became mayor. Yes. Major. And let's be honest, you probably wouldn't survive this. Not because of war or famine, but because there is no coffee, no showers, and you're about to share sleeping space with a mildly aggressive duck. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Drop your location and local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up with a start. Not from danger, but because Hermione's goat has licked your ear. Again. You blink, groggy, swatting at the buzzing air and the goat's persistent nose. Around you, a Mauryan village yawns itself into life. The air smells like wet grain, fried curry leaves, and distant cow dung. A child screams. A rooster responds with the tone of someone who's already done his job and would like to be left alone. Your hut, made of woven reed and caked clay, leaks slightly from the previous week's monsoon drizzle. It's fine. Ebediones leaks. You step out into the village, about 200 souls living in tight proximity, arguing about mango prices and reincarnation timelines. The mud is thick beneath your toes, clinging like overly affectionate pudding. Women with sari-wrapped waists and bangles clinking like wind chimes are already sweeping the dirt paths with grass brooms, even though the paths are dirt. It's tradition. No one questions it. Somewhere nearby, the priest is chanting. You can't see him, but the sound of his prayer is unmistakable, droning, nasal, oddly hypnotic. It floats out from the tiny temple tucked beside the rice granary, where a blackened stone idol looks perpetually unimpressed. Today is special, though. There is a buzz in the village. People are whispering between tasks. Heads tilt toward a particular shed, the one where Parvati the cow recently gave birth. Yes, Parvati. Says one of the temple cows, decorated every month in turmeric paste and given extra chapatis on festival days. She's generally calm, except for when she's not. And 3 days ago, she gave birth to a calf with a birthmark in the shape of a sunburst right on its forehead. That's when the weird started. The village midwife swears the calf sneezed exactly 9 times, auspicious. A wandering monk claims he saw a double rainbow appear just as it moved for the first time. And the local astrologer, who may or may not be legally blind, declared the calf's aura extremely mayoral. You didn't know mayoral was an aura color. Apparently it's somewhere between golden and slightly confused. Now, standing among the clamor and spice-laden air, you hear someone shout. She's awake. The cow is awake. There is cheering. Cheering. For a cow. You weave through the crowd, dodging toddlers, overly friendly dogs, and one man loudly arguing with a tree spirit, and reach the makeshift stable. And there she is. The calf. She's adorable, honestly. Big wet eyes. Ears like floppy pancakes. And that birthmark does look strangely like a rising sun, if you squint and tilt your head like a confused duck. Elder Govinda steps forward, staff in hand, beard tangled like old rope. This is a sign, he says, dramatically pointing at the calf. A divine soul has entered this village. You, being a normal person from the future, would prefer a functioning drainage system. But nobody asks you. The next 2 hours are a blur. Debates are had. Vedic texts are referenced with wildly varying degrees of accuracy. Someone insists the last time a holy animal appeared, a mango tree bloomed out of season and caused 7 marriages. Eventually, a decision is made. By consensus. With only 2 objections, one from the village drunk and one from the goat who licked you earlier. The cow, Parvati's calf, now named Surya Devi, will be elected mayor. Spiritual protector. Ritual overseer. Symbol of harmony and slightly unpredictable bowel movements. Ju reassigned to her official team of human handlers. Congratulations. Your first job? Brush her tail with neem leaves while she naps in a ceremonial basket of millet. Ju say. This is going to be a weird week. But the village hums with peace. For now. Chickens cluck contentedly. The sun rises just a little warmer. Somewhere in the distance, someone is composing a poem about Surya Devi's laughter. You head off to your new post. Because history, as it turns out, sometimes begins with a cow. Jure brushing her tail again. The neem leaves are slightly wilted today, which she clearly doesn't appreciate. You know this because she flicks her tail directly into your face, smearing a mysterious streak of something sticky across your cheek. You try not to think too hard about what it might be. A nearby elder whispers that the smear is auspicious. You wipe it off with your sleeve anyway. The sun is climbing gently over the horizon, gilding the village in a sleepy haze of orange and dust. Smoke curls from clay stoves as women crouch to fan the morning's first chapatis, and the rhythmic thwop-thwop of rice pounding echoes like a soft, ancient drumbeat. Somewhere, a parrot is reciting its favorite curse word, taught by Ida Village's only bachelor, obviously. And here you are, sitting beside a holy calf with a celestial bookmark. It all started with that birthmark. The sun-shaped patch of white fur on Surya Devi's forehead is oddly symmetrical, like a child's doodle that somehow ended up on a sacred cow. Villagers had crowded around her the day she was born, offering mangoes, garlands, and unsolicited prophecies. One elderly woman tried to anoint her with coconut oil and accidentally slipped into a puddle of cow pee. A blessing, she declared from the mud. She has baptized me. You've been stuck in this weird spiral of reverence and rural logistics ever since. As you tend to Surya Devi, you catch snippets of conversation drifting in from the communal well. The washerwomen are still talking about her miraculous sneezes, now rumored to cure warts and broken hearts. One man claims she blinked at him yesterday and his back pain vanished, though others point out that he was also given opium tea at the time. Still, the faith is infectious. Even the village grump, Hari, now bows every time he walks past her pen. He still complains, of course. We can't let her near the barley, he mutters. She ruined the yield with her holiness. But he says it's softer now, like maybe she's listening. She's, in fact, chewing on your sandal at this moment. But to everyone else, Surya Devi isn't just a calf anymore. She's a living message. From whom, no one can agree. The gods. Karma? A distant Mauryan bureaucrat in need of comic relief? The priest, naturally, has leaned in hard. He's begun interpreting her movements as omens. If she walks toward the mango tree, he explains solemnly, there will be prosperity. If she walks toward the temple, it means spiritual cleansing. If she walks toward the latrine, well, we simply won't speak of that. Last night, she walked in a perfect circle, paused, and sneezed twice. This prompted a 4-hour emergency meeting of the village council and the sacrifice of 3 sweet potatoes. You were not invited. Now she's napping, her sides rising and falling like a bellows as the sun warms her back. You lean against the wooden post beside her pen, watching the village come alive in that slow, deliberate way it always does. There is something oddly peaceful about it all. The routine. The predictability. The absurd reverence wrapped in layers of cow dung and hope. Children skip past with smudged foreheads and sticky hands, pausing only to chant, Mo Major. Mo Major, before bursting into giggles and vanishing around the grain shed. Even the animals seem caught up in the excitement. The temple goat, notoriously jealous, has begun imitating cow sounds. Badly. And the peacock keeps trying to fan its tail dramatically every time Surya Devi walks by. She never notices. And yet, she is different. Yesterday, when a snake slithered into the outer rice field, she didn't flinch. Just turned, walked over, and stared at it until it slithered back into the bush. No one else saw it, but the village potter swears this means she has serpent energy. Is now started painting all his pots with cow motifs, which admittedly look more like angry donkeys, but the sentiment is there. Archaeologists still debate whether animals in Mauryan villages held any formal roles. The standard narrative focuses on agriculture, temple rituals, or food. But in this village, in this moment, your cow is mayor. And no scroll or dusty museum plaque can quite explain that. The calf stirs. She stretches, licks her own ear, and releases a belch so regal it echoes off the nearby tamarind tree. An old man gasps. She has spoken. Do try not to laugh. Then, she stands. Steady, graceful, and, as always, looking slightly surprised to find herself standing. It's time for her morning promenade. This is an official duty now. Twice a day, she walks the main path between the granary and the well, flanked by garland-bearing children and two suspiciously serious chickens. You, unfortunately, are in charge of collecting her droppings mid-rot and burying them under the sacred neem tree. For fertility, the priest explains, which you no longer question. As she walks, villagers step aside. They bow. They chant. One woman plays a tiny flute made from a bird bone. It sounds like a mosquito having a breakdown, but it's heartfelt. Your mayor pauses near the banana cart. Sniffs. And selects a banana with surgical precision, one nudge, one plop. The vendor bows, weeping openly, and announces, she has blessed my inventory. The rest of the bananas sell out within minutes. You carry on. The walk ends with her sniffing the pond, inspecting a particularly shiny rock, and then deciding to nap in the shade of the old fig tree. A circle of elders watches in reverent silence as she settles down. No one dares disturb her. And neither do you. You sit beside her, mosquito-bitten and vaguely confused, but weirdly at peace. Because sometimes, apparently, a village just needs a cow. Children skip past with smudged foreheads and sticky hands, pausing only to chant, Mo Major. Mo Major, before bursting into giggles and vanishing around the grain shed. Even the animals seem caught up in the excitement. The temple goat, notoriously jealous, has begun imitating cow sounds. Badly. And the peacock keeps trying to fan its tail dramatically every time Surya Devi walks by. She never notices. And yet, she is different. Yesterday, when a snake slithered into the outer rice field, she didn't flinch. Just turned, walked over, and stared at it until it slithered back into the bush. No one else saw it, but the village potter swears this means she has serpent energy. Is now started painting all his pots with cow motifs, which admittedly look more like angry donkeys, but the sentiment is there. Archaeologists still debate whether animals in Mauryan villages held any formal roles. The standard narrative focuses on agriculture, temple rituals, or food. But in this village, in this moment, your cow is mayor. And no scroll or dusty museum plaque can quite explain that. The calf stirs. She stretches, licks her own ear, and releases a belch so regal it echoes off the nearby tamarind tree. An old man gasps. She has spoken. Do try not to laugh. Then, she stands. Steady, graceful, and, as always, looking slightly surprised to find herself standing. It's time for her morning promenade. This is an official duty now. Twice a day, she walks the main path between the granary and the well, flanked by garland-bearing children and two suspiciously serious chickens. You, unfortunately, are in charge of collecting her droppings mid-rot and burying them under the sacred neem tree. For fertility, the priest explains, which you no longer question. As she walks, villagers step aside. They bow. They chant. One woman plays a tiny flute made from a bird bone. It sounds like a mosquito having a breakdown, but it's heartfelt. Your mayor pauses near the banana cart. Sniffs. And selects a banana with surgical precision, one nudge, one plop. The vendor bows, weeping openly, and announces, she has blessed my inventory. The rest of the bananas sell out within minutes. You carry on. The walk ends with her sniffing the pond, inspecting a particularly shiny rock, and then deciding to nap in the shade of the old fig tree. A circle of elders watches in reverent silence as she settles down. No one dares disturb her. And neither do you. You sit beside her, mosquito-bitten and vaguely confused, but weirdly at peace. Because sometimes, apparently, a village just needs a cow. The morning haze thins as the sun climbs higher, scattering copper light over terraced fields and smoke trails curling from clay stoves. Somewhere in the east, a monkey is screaming at a squirrel. Jube given up trying to make sense of the animal politics here. Back under the fig tree, Surya Devi snores with complete indifference to her growing political clout. Because today, well, today is when someone suggests the unthinkable. Jure sitting at the communal rice pounding area, trying to scrub dung out from under your thumbnail with a fig twig, when Ashoka, the not that Ashoka, obviously, just the village scribe with a tragically ironic name, clears his throat. I think, he says, we should make the calf our official mayor. Silence. A child drops a pot. Hari the grump snorts hard enough to eject a small bean from his nose. The priest, who is always conveniently nearby during such events, doesn't flinch. He simply nods as if this was inevitable. The goddess has chosen her vessel, he murmurs. You choke slightly on your tamarind snack. Now, let's pause here. You might be wondering, was Major a thing in ancient Mauryan villages? Not quite in the modern sense. But local councils existed. Elders met regularly to decide on grain distribution, seasonal rituals, trade permissions, and who got to use the good well. Sometimes there was a headman or gramika, sometimes decisions were communal. But there was definitely no formal precedent for a four-legged herbivore as local authority. By the people. Approachable. Brings unity. Holy sneeze powers. Excellent digestion. And, he adds dramatically, she has never lied. The crowd murmurs. That last point is, admittedly, hard to argue with. Someone proposes a vote. Which is odd, because that's not technically how decisions are made around here. But at this point, things have drifted so far from normal protocol that no one questions it. A banana leaf is passed around for thumbprints. You leave a suspicious smudge from your still dungy finger and hope no one notices. The results are swift and absurd, 27 votes for Surya Devi, 1 vote for the temple goat, written in goat hoofprint by the bachelor, and 1 abstention from the potter, who still believes he's possessed by serpent energy and refuses to participate in mammalian politics. The priest raises his hands. It is decided, he says. Surya Devi shall lead us. She, of course, is still asleep under the fig tree. Possibly dreaming of banana carts and licking her own nostrils. You blink slowly. You are now the assistant to a cow. And apparently, that's a full-time job. The village leaps into action. A ceremonial head garland is woven from marigolds and goat fur. Children paint tiny murals of Surya Devi on nearby walls, most of which look like sad hippos, but the enthusiasm is palpable. The priest anoints a clay trough as the seat of power. It's unclear what this means in practical terms, but it definitely smells like turmeric now. That evening, as the sun slips behind the tamarind grove and the cicadas begin their shrill evening chant, the inauguration begins. There are flutes. There is incense. There is an extremely loud drum, which no one asked for but everyone accepts because it belongs to a guy who gets upset when left out. And then Surya Devi is led, with pomp and extremely wobbly grace, to the village square. She sniffs the dais, licks the garland off her own face, and sneezes. The crowd erupts. She approves, shouts someone. Jure fairly sure she just inhaled a beetle. The priest gives a speech that starts off reverent but quickly veers into metaphysical speculation about cows being portals. No one follows the logic, but he's got a great voice for slow, dramatic pauses. Then, it's your turn. You, apparently, are to be her spokesperson. You open your mouth to protest, but the village elder hands you a carved stick and says, use this when she gives a decree. You whisper, she doesn't talk. Not with words, he says mysteriously. But you'll know. No pressure. The ceremony ends with a round of celebratory buttermilk, some impromptu dancing, and one unfortunate fire that started when someone placed an oil lamp too close to a goat's tail. All in all, a typical Mauryan village celebration. As night falls, you tuck Surya Devi into her stable with a new blanket and a few extra mango peels. She nuzzles your arm. Do try not to melt. Because let's be real, this is ridiculous. Absolutely, utterly absurd. But also kind of sweet? Do you remember your weird neighbor with the 3 goats? Hasn't they shouted all day? The village potter actually smiled. And even Hari seemed almost human for a moment when he bowed to Surya Devi and muttered, she better fix the barley prices. Maybe, just maybe, this odd little arrangement will work. And if not, well, at least you'll get a good story out of it. Ju glanced at Surya Devi. She burps. Ju nods solemnly. Decree acknowledged, your muship. The next morning, dawn spread soft light over the village like a warm blanket. Roosters argue loudly over who gets to wake the world first, and you find yourself once again sitting beside Surya Devi's pen, feeling far too awake for this hour. She's chewing thoughtfully on a handful of sugarcane stalks, her large eyes calm and unbothered by her newfound fame. Around you, the village stirs to life, but everything feels different. There is a new energy in the air, a mix of awe, amusement, and just a hint of confusion. Because now, your cow isn't just a cow. Says the mayor. Jude official mayor. The villagers have already begun adjusting to this curious fact. Yesterday's disbelief has settled into a sort of affectionate acceptance, like welcoming a very slow but very steady uncle to the council. As you watch, the village scribe Ashoka walks over, scroll in hand and a mischievous grin plastered on his face. eBay drafted the first decree, he announces. It's quite simple. All village gatherings must begin with a moment of respect for Mayor Surya Devi. Failure to do so results in 2 days of fetching water without a bucket. Ju raise an eyebrow. Who's going to enforce this? Ahsoka shrugs. The cow, of course. She sneezes at anyone who refuses. Ju try to imagine Surya Devi sneezing on a rebellious villager. The image is simultaneously hilarious and oddly terrifying. In truth, the whole village seems caught up in this strange ritual. From the blacksmith to the weavers, everyone greets the cow with a nod or a small bow. Even Hari the Grump, who still grumbles about the impracticality of a bovine mayor, has stopped arguing, preferring to grumble quietly to himself while avoiding eye contact. One elder confides that this tradition might actually not be entirely without precedent. Ancient texts from the Vedic period mention sacred animals playing roles in community decisions, though historians still debate how literally to take these accounts. The idea of an animal mayor might seem bizarre now, but perhaps it echoes something much older. Do you wonder whether Surya Devi has any idea about her duties? Do you suspect she is mostly interested in naps, snacks, and avoiding the occasional overly enthusiastic child? Yet, the villagers insist this is serious business. They gather regularly to discuss the cow's behavior, interpreting each chew, glance, and sneeze as messages from the divine. At one meeting, the cow turns her head sharply toward the granary just as the village elder mentions a possible grain shortage. Everyone gasps. It's a sign, they whisper. We must ration the harvest. You quietly note that she might just be bored. Surya Devi's schedule fills quickly. Besides her twice-daily promenades, she now attends the evening fire rituals, where incense smoke curls around her like a royal cloak. Children read poems in her honor, some attempting to imitate her low moo. The bachelor's parrot has even learned to say Hail Mayor, though with questionable pronunciation. You, meanwhile, have been promoted to her chief aide, a title you neither sought nor understand. Your duties include carrying messages, collecting her gifts, the polite term for droppings, and translating her mysterious behaviors into actionable village policies. The most challenging part? Pretending you know what she's trying to say. You catch yourself staring at her, waiting for a sign, a sneeze, a tail flick, anything to guide your next move. 11. You tried a dramatic pause after she blinked twice, only to be met with blank stares from the council. Apparently, not every blink counts. In quieter moments, you find yourself marveling at how this ridiculous situation has somehow knitted the village closer. People who barely spoke before now share laughter, stories, and even dance in the moonlight. Surya Devi's presence is like a slow, comforting pulse beating through the heart of the community. Do you think about the old saying your grandmother used to mutter about cows being sacred vessels of peace? Maybe there is truth in it. Or maybe you're just sleep-deprived and desperately trying to make sense of a cow running a village. Either way, life rolls on. And as the sun sets and fireflies blink awake, you settle beside your mayor, content to follow wherever she might lead next. The next day dawns humid and golden, with the scent of wet earth and jasmine blossoms curling through the air. You follow Surya Devi as she embarks on her morning inspection tour, a slow, deliberate amble that's somehow majestic despite her frequent head jerks at passing flies. Village life pulses gently around you, women grind millet with rhythmic thuds, a child chases a chicken in wide circles, and the blacksmith's hammer rings out like a metronome for the day's labors. Do you notice a subtle change? People now cast occasional sideways glances toward the mayor, as if gauging her approval or awaiting her secret signal. Her first stop is the water well, where villagers have gathered to fill pots and chat. Surya Devi lowers her head and sniffs the water, then lazily flicks her tail. The elders nod knowingly. Tail flick means all is well, or so they say. Do you wonder whether anyone has considered how impractical it is for a cow to monitor water quality? Archaeologists still debate whether ancient Indian villages had formal water inspectors or relied on more communal, informal methods. Apparently, Surya Devi is filling a very old role, albeit in an unusually bovine way. At the granary, she pauses, nostrils flaring. Suddenly, she stamps her hoof once. The village potter gasps. A warning, she whispers, clutching her serpent amulet. Surya Devi senses a problem with the grain stores. Do you remind yourself this might just be a coincidence, or maybe she just dislikes the smell of fermented millet? But the elders scramble to inspect the grain anyway, discovering a minor infestation of weevils. The council decides to implement stricter storage methods, crediting the major's senses. Later, as the sun climbs higher and shadows shorten, Surya Devi retreats to the shade of a mango tree. Children gather, coaxing her to playfully nudge small balls made from dried cow dung. You can't help but smile at this peculiar sport. Part ceremonial, part childish game. One curious fact about ancient Mauryan villages is the diversity of roles assigned even to animals. Cows were sacred and deeply integrated into spiritual life, but also practical contributors to the community, providing milk, dung for fuel, and even companionship. Your surreal situation is just an exaggerated version of that respect. A scholar might ask whether the Vijaya's decision to elevate Surya Devi to mayor was a clever symbolic gesture to remind people of the cow's importance or a genuine attempt at inclusive governance. Archaeologists still debate whether such acts were common or singular events. As evening descends, Surya Devi attends the ritual fire ceremony again. The priest chants softly, offering prayers for harvest and health. Tonight, he adds a new verse praising the major's steadfast heart and peaceful presence. You stand nearby, wondering how you went from a regular villager to the personal aide of a cow mayor, juggling the duties of interpreter, messenger, and occasional comedian. When she lets out a low, contented moo, you bow your head and whisper, "Let us well, your mooship." And somehow, it feels like she just might. The following morning greets you with the gentle crooning of cicadas, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and freshly turned soil. Surya Devi stands patiently near the village square, surrounded by a curious crowd that's beginning to resemble a small festival. You follow closely behind, feeling the weight of your new title as chief aide settle into your shoulders. Today is the day of the village council meeting, an event now dominated by the major's silent but commanding presence. The villagers have made a custom of interpreting her every move, turning her casual gestures into policy decisions, a tradition you find both charming and, admittedly, exhausting. As the meeting commences, the village elder raises a point about the upcoming harvest festival, expressing concern over whether the rains will hold long enough. Surya Devi, standing with surprising stillness, lets out a slow blink and flicks her tail toward the north. The assembled crowd murmurs in approval. A tail flick to the north is understood as a favorable omen, suggesting good weather ahead. Jury amazed at how deeply these simple animal signals have woven themselves into the Villaje's decision-making process. Archaeologists still debate whether such practices were widespread or unique quirks of individual communities. Between discussions, a young girl approaches Surya Devi with a hand-woven garland of marigolds and gently drapes it around the cow's neck. The gesture seems to please the mayor, who responds with a soft, approving moo. The warmth of this moment spreads through the gathering like a comforting breeze. You watch the village carpenter sketch out plans for a new communal well, explaining that Surya Devi's blessing means they have the green light to begin construction. It's an odd, peaceful harmony, ancient governance mediated by bovine intuition and human hope. Later, you notice the village healer preparing a concoction of turmeric, honey, and neem leaves, a traditional remedy said to boost immunity during seasonal changes. She explains that the Major's presence has brought renewed faith in old medicines, reviving forgotten rituals of health and well-being. There is a fringe belief, whispered among the oldest villagers, that Surya Devi's role transcends the physical, that she embodies the spirit of the Villaje's ancestors watching over them. Whether metaphor or reality, it adds a layer of mysticism to the cow's quiet reign. As the sun begins to set, you find a moment to rest beneath a tamarind tree, pondering the curious mixture of pragmatism and whimsy that defines your life these days. You wonder if any other villages have ever elected a non-human leader, or if you're part of a rare, peaceful anomaly. The breeze carries the distant call of night birds as you feel the gentle weight of responsibility and wonder settle in your chest. The mayor looks at you with calm eyes, as if reminding you that sometimes leadership isn't about words, it's about presence. You lean down and scratch behind her ears, murmuring, "We've got this, your mooship. And for now, that's enough." The village wakes to a sky painted with soft pinks and oranges, the early light filtering through palm fronds like a whisper. Surya Devi is already awake, her breath misting in the cool morning air as she grazes on tender shoots of fresh grass. You join her silently, the world around you humming gently to laugh. Today, the village celebrates the peculiar but joyful festival of the Golden Hoof, dedicated to Surya Devi's unusual election. You watch as preparations unfold, women weaving garlands from marigolds and jasmine, men hanging hand-painted banners depicting cows with crowns and scrolls. The atmosphere is festive, light, and imbued with a collective sense of wonder. The festival's highlight is the ceremonial mayoral procession, where Surya Devi is adorned with beads, fresh leaves, and a delicate golden anklet crafted by the village jeweler. The villagers follow behind, singing old hymns and clapping softly, their faces glowing with pride and amusement. You can't help but smile as Surya Devi trots at a slow, dignified pace, occasionally flicking her tail as if waving to her loyal subjects. The procession pauses at the temple steps, where the priest offers a blessing and pours water mixed with turmeric over her head, a symbol of purity and prosperity. It's curious to reflect how, despite the absurdity of a cow mayor, the festival feels deeply meaningful. It revives ancient traditions of honoring sacred animals and their place in society, traditions that historians still debate about, whether they were purely religious or had practical community-building purposes. Nearby, the village children play a peculiar game called Follow the Hoof, racing behind Surya Devi and trying to imitate her slow, deliberate steps. The laughter and light chatter drift through the warm air, weaving a gentle rhythm that soothes the soul. Later, you find yourself speaking with the village elder, who shares an intriguing tidbit. Some ancient texts describe animals as mediators between humans and gods, carrying messages and blessings. This festival, in a way, is a living echo of those beliefs, a playful but sincere way of bridging the earthly and the divine. As the sun dips low and shadows lengthen, the village gathers around the communal fire. Stories are shared, some true, some tall tales, all centered on the mysterious power of animals and the strange wisdom of cows. You sit quietly beside Surya Devi, feeling the warmth of the fire and the gentle hum of the village settling into night. Her large eyes catch yours, calm and steady, reminding you that sometimes, the oddest stories are the ones that bring the most peace. You whisper, "Not a bad mayor, eh?" She moves softly, as if to say, "Agreed." The morning arrives cool and fragrant, with a faint breeze carrying the scent of drying herbs from the Haler's hut. Surya Devi is already near the communal garden, quietly chewing on a patch of tender grass, her presence calming the rustling leaves and sleepy bees alike. You follow her steps, the soft thud of her hooves on the packed earth blending with the distant murmur of village life. Today's focus is the village's food supply, an ever-important topic that now involves the Major's curious participation. The villagers gather around wooden tables laden with earthen bowls of millet, lentils, and fresh greens, discussing the season's yield. Surya Devi wanders calmly through the crowd, occasionally nudging a basket of ripened mangoes, prompting smiles and chuckles. You lean toward the elder who explains that cows in the Mauryan period were often considered both sacred and practical, providers of milk and fertilizer, yes, but also symbolic guardians of prosperity. Your mind wanders to the fringe theory that some ancient Indian communities believed cows had a spiritual ability to taste the health of crops and soil, a belief archaeologists still debate today. The healer steps forward with a curious remedy made from turmeric, honey, and a hint of asafoetida, known for soothing digestion and warding off ailments. She offers a small cup to Surya Devi, who accepts it with surprising grace, licking the rim gently. The villagers take this as a good sign, reinforcing their faith in both ancient medicine and their Major's mysterious wisdom. As the sun climbs higher, you notice a group of women preparing rice cakes near the fire pit, chatting about the peculiar tradition of leaving a small portion of every meal outside as an offering to the village spirits. It's a custom older than memory, meant to invite blessings and keep misfortune at bay. Do you recall the recent scholarly debates on whether such food offerings were purely religious or had practical social functions? Sharing food fostered community bonds and ensured nobody went hungry. Surya Devi's mayoral role seems to embody this balance between the sacred and the practical, the seen and unseen. Later, as the day wanes, you find a quiet moment with the potter, who shapes clay into tiny cows, miniature tributes to Surya Devi. These, she says softly, are reminders that leadership can come in many forms. As twilight falls, the village gathers once again for a meal beneath the stars. The aroma of roasted lentils and spiced vegetables mingles with the cool night air. Surya Devi rests nearby, calm and content, a symbol of a village that finds comfort in the curious and the peculiar. You sit back, savoring the peace of this shared ritual, thinking maybe this strange mayor is exactly what the village needed. The dawn breaks soft and golden, dust motes dancing in the warm light filtering through palm leaves. Surya Devi is standing by the entrance to the village temple, her massive form somehow blending with the carved stone lions and peacocks guarding the sacred space. You trail behind her, sensing the quiet reverence with which the villagers now regard their mayor. Today's ritual is a blend of ceremony and practical wisdom. The priest begins chanting in a slow, melodic rhythm, invoking blessings not just on the crops and the village but on Surya Devi herself. Do you notice how the cow remains still, eyes half closed, as if fully attuned to the sacred sounds? The temple walls are covered in faded murals depicting ancient gods and daily village life. One particularly curious scene shows a cow crowned with a garland, surrounded by villagers offering gifts. Do you wonder if this image inspired the decision to elect Surya Devi, or if it merely echoes a long-lost tradition? Archaeologists still debate whether such depictions were symbolic or if animals ever truly held official positions in village governance. The line between myth and reality blurs, but in your village, that line feels delightfully thin. The priest sprinkles saffron-infused water on Surya Devi's forehead, a gentle ritual meant to imbue her with divine favor. Villagers approach to touch her coat lightly, murmuring quiet prayers and well wishes. The atmosphere is one of calm respect. With a touch of affectionate humor, you catch the potter winking as she smooths clay on a tiny cow figurine. Later, you observe the village scribe jotting down notes about the day's events, recording the Major's decisions based on her behavior and the villagers' interpretations. It's an unusual blend of democracy and divination, a system as ancient and mysterious as the rivers that nourish your fields. The sun warms your back as Surya Devi ambles over to a patch of wildflowers. She lowers her head, inhaling deeply. You catch the faintest hint of chamomile in the breeze, calming and sweet. There is a quiet lesson here: leadership need not always be loud or commanding. Sometimes, its presence, paciencia, and the ability to bring people together in shared belief and hope. You settle beside her, letting the tranquility wash over you, and think maybe this peculiar calm air is exactly the gentle soul this village needs. The sun rises slowly, casting long shadows over the village's winding dirt paths and simple thatched homes. You wake to the faint scent of jasmine mixed with the earthiness of morning dew. Surya Devi stands near the communal well, patiently waiting as villagers fill their pots with water, her presence a calming anchor in the gentle morning bustle. Today's focus drifts to the village's water management, a topic as vital as it is overlooked. You watch the well keeper demonstrate the use of an ancient pulley system, hoisting up clay jars filled with clear, cool water. Surya Devi casually brushes past, nudging a bucket as if to approve the system's sufficiency. It's fascinating how water shaped ancient life, especially in Mauryan times. You remember reading that water scarcity led to ingenious irrigation techniques, including the early use of canals and tanks, a testament to the community's resilience. Archaeologists still debate the extent to which these water systems were centrally planned or evolved from local knowledge. You overhear a conversation about the village's curious belief that Surya Devi's presence ensures the water remains pure, a notion that blends superstition with practical observation. Some villagers swear the well's water tastes sweeter since she became mayor, though science might suggest a simpler explanation. Later, the village carpenter shows off a small bamboo filtration device, designed to keep the water clean and free from debris. It's a reminder that ancient technology, while humble, was often effective and sustainable, lessons the modern world sometimes forgets. The afternoon drifts into a calm lull, punctuated by the soft buzzing of bees and the rustle of leaves. You take a moment to watch the village children playing near the water's edge, their laughter blending with the gentle splash of Surya Devi's hooves as she steps into a shallow pool to cool off. A fringe belief among some villagers holds that cows have a mystical connection to water spirits, guardians of purity and life. While historians remain skeptical, it adds a charming layer to the village's rituals and reverence. As dusk settles, you sit beside Surya Devi, watching the sky shift from orange to deep indigo. The day's warmth lingers in the stones and soil, wrapping the village in a soothing embrace. You whisper, water keeper, grass chewer, mayor extraordinaire. Not bad for a day's work. She moves softly, her eyes reflecting the last light of day. The morning hums softly as sunlight filters through woven palm fronds, casting dancing shadows on the dusty paths of your village. Surya Devi rests under the spreading branches of an ancient banyan tree, the air rich with the scent of blooming frangipani and freshly turned sal. The village awakens around her, voices rising and falling like a gentle tide. Today is market day, an event that transforms the village from a quiet enclave into a bustling hub of trade and chatter. You weave through the stalls lined with vibrant fabrics, fragrant spices, and curious trinkets carved from bone and wood. Surya Devi, ever dignified, ambles calmly at the edge, drawing smiles and affectionate pats from vendors. The market is more than a place to exchange goods, it's a social ritual connecting distant families and neighbors. You overhear a merchant proudly recounting how the Mauryan Empire's extensive trade routes brought exotic goods and ideas to even this small village, linking it to the vast, ancient world. Archaeologists still debate the precise reach of these routes, but their influence is undeniable. Among the stalls, a potter offers tiny clay cows painted with ochre and charcoal, souvenirs celebrating your mayor's unusual office. Nearby, a storyteller captivates children with tales of ancient heroes and mythical beasts, though today's story humorously includes a cow who outsmarts a clever jackal. You catch a glimpse of a subtle village custom. When Surya Devi passes, vendors sprinkle a handful of grain in her path, a gesture thought to invite abundance and good fortune. Some scholars suggest this is an ancient practice of honoring sacred animals, blending practical respect with spiritual reverence. Later, as the sun climbs high, the village women prepare a feast of spiced rice, roasted chickpeas, and fresh yogurt, sharing recipes handed down through generations. The aroma mingles with the market's vibrant energy, creating a sensory tapestry that feels timeless. You find yourself seated near Surya Devi, sharing a quiet moment amid the bustle. Her gentle presence, the lively market, and the hum of ancient life combine into a comforting rhythm that eases your mind. You chuckle softly, thinking, who knew a cow could be the heart of the village? She blinks slowly, as if to say, "I've got this." The sun sinks low, painting the sky with soft hues of lavender and gold as the village settles into its evening rhythm. Surya Devi lies near the edge of the communal fire pit, her calm breathing mingling with the crackle of burning wood and the distant call of night birds. The air is cool, carrying faint notes of sandalwood incense from the nearby shrine. Tonight's gathering focuses on storytelling, a sacred tradition that threads together memory, meat, and community. Villagers circle the fire, their faces lit by flickering flames, eager for tales that soothe the mind and spark gentle wonder. Surya Devi, the unlikely mayor, sits quietly at the center, her presence grounding the ritual. Do listen as the elder begins recounting an ancient tale from the Vedic texts, a story of gods, cows, and cosmic order. The narrative flows slowly, each word deliberate, like a soft lullaby. There is a peculiar detail that stands out. The cow's role as a symbol of nourishment not just for the body but for the soul, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Historians still debate how much these stories shape daily life or were poetic reflections of society's values. Either way, tonight, they weave a gentle spell, inviting everyone to rest in shared reverence. A curious tradition follows the story, a silent moment where villagers lay offerings of rice and milk at the foot of Surya Devi, honoring her as a living emblem of those ancient tales. It's a gesture both tender and quietly profound, reminding you of the soft power found in simple rituals. You notice the children's eyes growing heavy, lulled by either rhythm of words and crackling fire. The village storyteller's voice lowers to a whisper, encouraging dreams filled with faraway kingdoms and peaceful pastures. You lean close to Surya Devi, whispering, "Not your average mayoral speech." She responds with a gentle moo, a comforting sound that blends seamlessly with the night. As the fire dies down and stars emerge, the village drifts toward sleep, wrapped in the warmth of stories old and new, and the calm presence of their peculiar, beloved leader. The morning light is soft and hazy as you stroll alongside the narrow path leading to the village outskirts. Surya Devi ambles steadily, her hooves stirring gentle clouds of dust that sparkle in the early sun. The village behind you hums with the quiet rhythm of daily chores, but here, the world feels slower, more ancient. Today, your journey takes you beyond the fields and homes, to the mysterious edge where the known village meets untamed wilderness. Villagers whisper tales of forgotten shrines and of stones marked with ancient symbols, remnants of a time when gods were thought to walk the earth in human and animal forms alike. Surya Devi pauses near a cluster of weathered stones, licking the air thoughtfully. It's said that cows, in ancient Indian lore, held the ability to sense spiritual energy, some believe they could even ward off malevolent spirits. Archaeologists still debate the origins of these beliefs and whether they influenced village rituals or stemmed from older shamanistic traditions. As you wander, you spot a patch of wildflowers, marigolds and jasmine, plucked daily to decorate the village altar. The scent is heady, almost intoxicating in the warm breeze. Nearby, a few villagers are quietly making offerings of milk and honey, small tokens of gratitude and hope. The fringe belief that cows like Surya Devi can serve as spiritual intermediaries feels oddly comforting here. It blurs the lines between practical leadership and sacred symbolism, making the election of a bovine mayor feel less peculiar and more like a natural extension of village life. Do recall how the village's healers often use herbs gathered from these wild patches, plants believed to have curative powers passed down through generations. Turmeric, basil, and neem all hold subtle roles in both medicine and ritual, entwining health and faith. As the sun climbs higher, you and Surya Devi begin the slow walk back, the village gradually reappearing like a soft promise. The wilderness retreats, but its quiet magic lingers, wrapping the village in an ancient, whispered story. You sigh contentedly, thinking maybe sometimes the wild edge is exactly where true wisdom grows. The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the village square, where children chase each other between stacks of grain and baskets of ripe fruit. Surya Devi lounges near the shade of a banyan tree, her calm demeanor a gentle counterpoint to the lively scene. The air is fragrant with crushed lemongrass and freshly baked millet bread. Today, the village focuses on one of its more peculiar traditions, the annual festival honoring the cow as both provider and protector. Do watch as villagers prepare colorful decorations, garlands of marigold and lotus blossoms, that will soon adorn Surya Devi and the village shrine alike. The festival's roots stretch deep into Mauryan history, a time when reverence for cattle was tied not just to agriculture but to spiritual beliefs about fertility and prosperity. Archaeologists still debate whether this veneration influenced political structures or was simply a cultural expression of gratitude. As the sun dips lower, you see Surya Devi gently draped with fragrant garlands, her coat glowing softly in the fading light. Children giggle as they sprinkle turmeric powder on her head, a symbol of purity and blessing. Nearby, elders chant softly, their voices weaving an ancient melody that fills the cooling air. Among the festival foods, you notice a curious dish made from fermented rice and jaggery, sweet and slightly tangy, a reminder of the Vijaya's culinary ingenuity. Some villagers believe sharing this food with Surya Devi ensures a year of good harvests and health. A quirky detail emerges. Some guests bring small, carved cow figurines made of clay and wood, tokens of respect that will later be placed near the altar or given to children as keepsakes. You find yourself marveling at how a simple animal has become a symbol so deeply woven into the Vijaya's identity, bridging past and present with quiet grace. As twilight fades, you settle near the fire pit, the festival's warmth wrapping around you like a soft blanket. Surya Devi rests, content and dignified, embodying the heart of this peaceful community. You whisper, "Not bad for a mayor." She blinks slowly, the flickering firelight dancing in her eyes. The village awakens to a soft dawn mist, the world wrapped in gentle quiet, as Surya Devi slowly rises to greet the new day. The scent of damp earth and blooming lotus lingers in the air, mingling with the faint aroma of morning tea brewed from wild herbs. Around you, the villagers begin their routines, their movements slow and deliberate, as if honoring the calm before the day's busyness. Today brings a gentle reflection on the legacy of Surya Devi's unique leadership, a story that, while peculiar, has become a tender thread woven into the Vijaya's fabric. You watch the elders gather beneath the ancient peepal tree, discussing the changes since their bovine mayor took office, fewer disputes over grazing rights, a renewed sense of harmony, and an unusual increase in visitors curious about this tranquil community. You recall how the Mauryan era was known for its intricate bureaucracy and enlightened governance, with Emperor Asoka's principles of nonviolence and welfare echoing through time. Archaeologists still debate the extent to which local villages adapted these ideals, but your Vijaya's choice feels like a charming, whimsical reflection of those values. A fringe yet endearing belief persists, that Surya Devi's calm presence radiates a kind of peace, soothing tensions and encouraging kindness. Though skeptics might smile, the villagers embrace this sentiment with quiet conviction. As the sun climbs higher, you walk slowly past familiar sights, the fragrant spice gardens, the quiet well, the painted pots drying in the sun. The village feels alive yet restful, a balance between motion and stillness that's rare and precious. You sit beside Surya Devi one last time, feeling the steady warmth of her body and the softness of her gaze. The oddness of it all fades into something deeply comforting. A reminder that sometimes, leadership and community come in the gentlest, most unexpected forms. You whisper, "Thanks for keeping us calm, Major." She lets out a soft, contented moo. The pace slows now, and the world quiets around you. Imagine yourself tucked beneath a soft woven blanket, the gentle hum of the village fading into a warm, steady rhythm. The sun's golden light stretches lazily across the fields, turning every leaf and grain of dust into a tiny, sparkling jewel. You breathe in deeply, airy, fragrant, and peaceful. Surya Devi, your bovine mare, stands just beyond the fence, chewing her cud with serene patience, a living symbol of calm and continuity. Her steady presence reminds you that life, in all its curious forms, moves in gentle cycles, days flowing into nights, seasons turning with slow grace. The village, with its quirky customs and humble routines, wraps you like a soft lullaby. The smell of wildflowers, the distant murmur of a nearby stream, the quiet chatter of villagers settling in for evening, all blend into a soothing tapestry. The stories you've heard linger softly in your mind, weaving dreams of ancient worlds where the strange and ordinary coexist peacefully. Let your thoughts drift now, free from hurry or worry. You are part of a timeless rhythm, connected to those who walked these lands before, and to the simple wisdom of a cow who became mayor. Feel your body sink deeper into comfort. Let your mind float gently, carried on the slow current of history and story. Sleep comes softly, wrapped in the quiet warmth of a village that chose calm over chaos, a cow over conflict. Good night, and sweet dreams.